On 7 January, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) issued a clarification that marks a turning point in the Labour Party leadership crisis. Julius Abure is no longer recognized as national chairman, while Nenadi Usman is acknowledged as the legitimate chair in line with the Supreme Court of Nigeria's ruling. This announcement effectively ends months of administrative ambiguity that had paralyzed the Labour Party. The post-2023 crisis in the Labour Party did not become destructive by accident. It was enabled by institutional choices, especially the decision of Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to continue recognizing Julius Abure as national chairman despite a clear ruling of the Supreme Court of Nigeria that stripped his faction of legal standing. The Supreme Court ruled that the Abure-led National Working Committee was not lawfully constituted and therefore lacked authority to act for the party. In practical terms, that judgment meant that Abure could not legally speak or act for the Labour Party, which means any congresses, any disciplinary actions or correspondence issued under his authority were invalid. INEC by law was expected to align with the ruling immediately the judgment was final, but INEC kept recognizing and dealing with the Abure-led faction of the Labour Party, which caused instability in the Labour Party. The Labour Party's 2023 momentum was largely built around Peter Obi and the Obi-Datti ticket. After the election, Obi repeatedly called for reconciliation and lawful restructuring within the party, but with INEC empowering a faction rejected by the courts, reconciliation became impossible. Trust between stakeholders collapsed, and Obi's political capital was gradually drained by endless internal battles. Many supporters now argue that Obi was trapped in a party whose leadership crisis was externally sustained. Leading to the 2023 general election, the Obedient movement did more than just support a candidate. It built and rebranded the Labour Party into a national force almost overnight. Before 2022, the Labour Party was marginal, with limited structures and weak visibility, and also no national relevance whatsoever. But the Obedient movement injected millions of new supporters into the party and made Labour Party symbols, colors, and logo instantly recognizable nationwide. This turned the party into a credible third force platform. In reality, the movement didn't find a strong party. It created one to support Peter Obi. And at the height of the Labour Party's internal crisis, reports of meetings between Julius Abure and Nyesom Wike deepened suspicions that the party's turmoil was being externally exploited. Wike, widely known at the time for his open loyalty to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was seen by many Labour Party stakeholders having meetings, and that deepened the crisis of Labour Party. Abure was widely accepted by INEC to continue as the chairman. Barely a week after Peter Obi's departure, the Independent National Electoral Commission issued a clarification recognizing Nenadi Usman as the legitimate chair of the Labour Party, effectively ending the administrative cover previously enjoyed by the Abure faction. For many people, the sequence was striking. Before Obi left, there was prolonged delay, confusion, and silence. And after Obi left to the ADC, there is suddenly a swift alignment with the Supreme Court position. Please, before we continue, I want to make a passionate appeal about this YouTube analytics. 96% of people who view this channel are not subscribed to this channel, only 3%. Please, when you subscribe and like this channel, it helps YouTube to push this news to other people Do well to support Impact Media. Thank you. This timing became the heart of the controversy with INEC. A growing number of analysts and supporters argue that Mr. Peter Obi did not simply walk away from the Labour Party political platform by choice, but he was gradually boxed in by coordinated pressures applied through state institutions and political proxies, until exit became the only viable option for him. This argument does not claim a single written order or public declaration. Rather, it points to a pattern of actions, delays, and selective enforcement that cumulatively narrowed Obi's political space. Central to the argument is the role of Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC). A clear Supreme Court position existed on Labour Party leadership, yet administrative recognition remained frozen for months. This paralysis crippled party reform, reconciliation, and lawful congresses. Supporters argued that delay achieved what direct suppression could not, which is fragmentation and loss of momentum in the party. As frustration grew around prolonged crisis within the Labour Party, attention shifted to an alternative platform, which is the African Democratic Congress. For many reform-minded Nigerians, especially within the obedient base, the ADC began to look less like a fringe party and more like a strategic reset option. The ADC became attractive not because it was perfect, but because it had fewer godfathers, it carried less internal baggage, and it offered a relatively clean legal and administrative slate. The ADC appeared available, flexible, and lawful as well. For many obedient, movement loyalty was never about party logos. It was about competence, accountability, and new political culture seen through that lens. Moving towards the ADC is framed not as abandonment of ideals, but as relocating the same ideals to a platform that can breathe. Imagine stepping into a field as the umpire, entrusted to enforce the rules, after the crowd has watched you take sides before kickoff. That is how many Nigerians describe the feeling around the 2023 cycle. The game felt compromised before the whistle blew. The paradox of the umpire in theory is that the umpire, which is the Independent National Electoral Commission, should be neutral, predictable. But in practice, when court decisions appear delayed in their effect and recognition of disputes linger at decisive moments, with clarity only arriving after political momentum is blunted, then neutrality becomes hard to perceive, even if it is claimed. By the time certainty arrives, the context has changed. That is why many say the match was decided administratively before votes were counted. The Supreme Court of Nigeria can clarify the rules, but if the referee delays enforcing them, players adapt. Some exploit the gaps, while others lose faith. Justice delayed becomes advantage distributed. An umpire doesn't need to rig a match to lose credibility. Just delay and do selective clarity, which is enough. When Nigerians say the umpire was ringed out early, they are describing a collapse of trust, not just a complaint about outcome. For Peter Obi, the transition into the African Democratic Congress (ADC) is not just a change of platform. It is a learning curve shaped by hard experiences. The Labour Party episode exposed structural realities of Nigerian politics that no reformer can afford to ignore. This phase marks a maturation point for him. Peter Obi's journey with the ADC is less about restarting a movement and more about building a political vehicle that can survive pressure and protect its momentum. If Labour Party was the awakening for him, then ADC is the application of lessons learned in the Labour Party. This is Impact Media. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Thank you for listening. See you again next time.